Hey guys, Derek here, and today just going to talk about Linux and my journey kind of with it and where I'm going to be heading. I have been daily driving CachyOS for quite a long time now. Windows was just basically used as a Battlefield 6 machine, and I've ultimately uninstalled Battlefield 6. The only game I'm really playing lately is old school RuneScape, oddly enough, which is kind of crazy. And I've just been working on my Game Shatter site, which you've probably, I don't know, maybe if you checked the YouTube channel. That's what we've been developing in Unity, and there's a few reasons why I'm going to be parting ways with CachyOS here, and I currently have one drive with Cachy, one drive with Windows, and I partitioned it and have another Linux distro on the drive with Windows. So I'm gonna be there's two more distros I want to test, and then I'm gonna make a final verdict on which one I'm gonna keep on my main hard drive where I'm going to be working, aka making my game for the long term. And I'm gonna just kind of be touching on Cachy and my experience with it and why I'll be venturing off. So I'm running Cachy KDE here, as you can see. And historically, I've had a few problems with updating in general. So like just your Cachy hello here, and then it's waiting for updates. And of course, Cachy, you get kind of bleeding edge updates as they roll out. So pretty much anytime you look, there's like something to be updated that you can decide to update or not. So if you're stable and don't really need to do anything, you don't need to upgrade by any means. So where this kind of started is with Cachy, and now that I'm doing more what I would call significant work, like making my game, and I'm not in the experimental stage of making my game anymore. I'm pending Steam approval, and then I'm tying all the user accounts into Steam IDs. Like, we're at that serious part of game development where I just kind of wanted some stability, some like added stability, and just everything that's just going to work and get out of my way. Windows, I can touch on that later, but for now, let's just kind of dive into CachyOS. None of this is scripted, so I'm kind of just spitballing, but this was one of the main things. This was actually my Reddit post that I made, because this was kind of the first problem that I had with Cachy, and it wasn't too long when I started really daily driving Cachy, because I was flip-flopping Windows a lot. So this is about 4 months ago. So I've probably been daily driving Cachy maybe 3-4 months before that. So I'd probably say I've been on Cachy like 8 months or so. Probably not a full year. Maybe I installed it a year ago, but never. It collected dust for a little while, and then I've been back on it, and I'll explain why I switched from Windows. Huge reason, which is crazy. So when doing a Cachy update this morning, my application launcher broke. So every time I'd hit the start menu, which is essentially this Linux Penguin here now that I have it and I open this up, I would get this error. I wouldn't be able to hit my start menu. I wouldn't be able to hit any of the applications. I then reverted back to a snapshot and tried the upgrade again, and it didn't work. I gave it about an hour, and then I reverted to a snapshot and upgraded again, and still didn't work. So that's a little worrisome when you're in a significant game development cycle, because you don't know if they're going to put something out to try to fix that and then something else goes sideways. So that was one kind of thing that bugged me a little bit. And when I made that post, a lot of other people were actually saying, like, updated my system, having the same problem, going to roll back to an old snapshot for now. So a lot of people, that's, just no big deal. Roll back to your previous snapshot that Cachy takes for you. Wait for the problem to be fixed. That's look at all the people here, right? I have the same issue. Yep, same problem here. So in a long-term environment, I don't think this probably would have happened where you're on bleeding edge with Cachy. You're a little prone to something like this potentially happening. Not that this happens all the time per se, but I don't want that to happen, because it kind of irks me where I'm like doing really significant game development work, and every night I back up my project onto my home server. And if I just worked for 2-3 hours, and where I'm at in life right now, raising 2 little girls, I basically don't want to risk wasting that hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it may be, that I got to actually work on my game because something crashed and I had to troubleshoot my operating system. I can't have that at this point in time. So that was one thing. And after that I was kind of doing okay. Maybe about a couple months ago, I actually just tried to do a Cachy update, because I think there were some like NVIDIA drivers and things like that were newer. And I tried to upgrade or just update CachyOS. And when I hit the update, it just failed. Red error, not sure why. I think I Googled it once, and then I just decided to tell Codex to deal with it for me. And it's like, okay, I removed all XYZ, try upgrade again. Okay, I upgrade again, and it works. I just got AI to fix an update for me. Then the next update after that was fine, and then the one after that, the same thing happened. Another failed update, where I don't know at what point it's breaking. And again, I'm just here for maybe, and some nights I'm here for like 30 minutes or not even. So I'm just like, okay, AI, just try to fix this one for me and then go ahead. And now Linux made a new desktop application, and I'm here and I go, install apps on Cachy, and I'm just going to go to the repo, repository, whatever I'm going to say. ChatGPT made a new app with a desktop UI, and you can use voice to chat during it, so you can like talk while you're developing to AI, which is really cool. Might save me some time. And if I try to install this right now and just hit, this is the way you install stuff on CachyOS. I just go here, ChatGPT desktop bin, official ChatGPT desktop app for Linux. I'm just going to hit install. Okay, password. And we can hit Y for yes, or just hit enter. And then I get this. Problem detected while installing. Please inspect the console output. Failed retrieving files, ChatGPT from mirror.krfoss.org, requested blah, 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 404. Failed to retrieve some files. So I feel like every time I'm like getting something or just hitting this button to update, it's kind of been a coin flip lately, which I'm not a fan of. So at that point, I'm like, well, yeah, I could troubleshoot installing AI, but I'm only here for like, an hour. I want to work on my game. I don't want to do. While, going through that, I started kind of researching all the other distros because I have an enthusiast build PC. I have a 4090, 4900K. This is my main hobby and this is my main passion. I'm kind of serious when it comes to computing and operating systems and troubleshooting and all that type of stuff, but sometimes time's not on your side. So I don't want to deal with this anymore. So what I actually wound up doing is installing Fedora, GNOME, like the workspace, and this is KDE, right? So I've kind of customized my KDE to kind of look and feel modern, and I've really enjoyed this look, and I really do like KDE. But just for like a kind of modern, sleek, minimalist vibe, I wanted to try GNOME on Fedora, because Fedora has like a bit more of a, I would say like a bigger team, I guess, backing it than Cachy, and I want a bit more stability. So I went to Fedora and I got GNOME, and initially off the bat, it's very odd. Let's see if I have a example here. Sorry, pickup. So kind of dealing with that. So if I just boot up our virtual box here, and then we just sign in, like I have in my actual SSD with Fedora GNOME on it, and I've customized it with like dash to dock animated or something. So you have a dock at the bottom, and you have all your main stuff. And I've actually really grown to enjoy the actual GNOME experience, using your Windows key, going through tabs and workspaces, all that good stuff, and just kind of experimenting with a whole new desktop environment that looks like this. So this is my VM. I haven't customized this at all or really done anything. I've just kind of poked around. This was my first experience with GNOME prior to actually putting it on my main PC. I now have it on my laptop. I have it on my wife's laptop. I have it on my main gaming PC. Oh, this has a dash to dock animated too, which is kind of cool. And just clicking up here, going through multiple workspaces as you wish, like this with Control Alt, or just selecting over there. And yeah, everything has just worked. It has a really nice software manager like this instead of the Cachy hello page, and then you go to the repo and then find whatever you're looking for. Nice UI here. Anything that's not here, you can still just grab from the web, or sudo and then do your command to install it. So the general appeal of this and the modern take and kind of simplistic look, while it's not as crazy as something like this KDE environment and the things that you can do with it, I found I was using less RAM at idle, which is also interesting. I thought KDE might have been a bit lighter, but I actually had that backwards. GNOME's a bit more minimalistic, I guess. And the results of some of my benchmarks were kind of interesting. So let me pull up Discord here for a second. And what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and grab the examples here from what I was running earlier on my gaming benchmarks. And I don't really play this game, but it's one I had installed on one of my other drives, so I just decided to install it. And kind of here's my results, which I thought was fairly interesting. So I have CachyOS, and I have the gaming packages installed, right? So if you go to, I had it there, here, and then you go to apps and tweaks, and you install the gaming packages. And then here's what I do as an NVIDIA user. This was a massive thing I found for gaining performance in gaming in general. So I don't have I don't know what I have installed in CachyOS, probably not that much. So if I go here, and let's say NBA 2K26 for example, which I do play quite a bit of, I come down here and I have this launch command in, which is massive for NVIDIA users. So if you're on NVIDIA on a modern card and you have Linux, I would recommend messing around with DLSS 4.5 presets, because it kind of nullifies the hit a little bit when it comes to the performance of NVIDIA on Linux. Because obviously there's a drop off Windows. Windows and NVIDIA gaming performance is better all around. But on Linux, you can get a little bit closer if you use DLSS 4.5, and of course you can use that on Windows too. But what I do is run my games on DLSS Ultra Performance and preset L, because I have a 4K monitor, and it looks pretty dang native to me, and I get a bit more of that performance because I'm using Ultra Performance mode and upscaling, and then I use Game-Performance command. So I pretty much have this on all of my games. To do a DLSS override, use preset L, so it's super sharp DLSS 4.5 scaling. Use Ultra Performance and then Game Performance to kind of put my PC in a performance mode, right? For, I guess, upping the CPU clocks or whatever Game-Performance does. If you're on like an Ubuntu-based, it's going to be like Game Mode Run, same equivalent basically, or near equivalent thing to do there. So this is what I do in all my games with NVIDIA on Linux, and it helps a boatload. So I'd recommend doing that if you're NVIDIA Linux. However, here are some of my results that I was getting, which is kind of interesting. So on the first Descendant, I haven't played that in a long time. Had it installed on one of my drives, decided to use that as a test bench. Going to the same place on both games in the title screen. Here it is. Hi, everything. DLSS 4.5, Ultra Performance, CachyOS. 168 FPS. And then in-game, I'm kind of monitoring, eyeballing it more so. And then Fedora GNOME, I'm literally getting, I don't know if you can read that very well there. So 168 on Cachy with these settings and everything, the gaming packages and whatnot, up to date everything on NVIDIA drivers, we're talking a 20 FPS difference at 4K. So I'm starting to think, okay, something's off. Maybe I didn't do the graphics settings the same. I run around in the world, and sure enough, my FPS is just feeling higher everywhere. I'm like, okay, that's strange, because Cachy is the more aggressively tuned for performance one. And then I go back to Fedora on KDE. I install a KDE environment along my GNOME environment. I sign out of GNOME, sign into KDE, run the same game, and I'm down to 172. So what we're seeing here is Cachy at 168 KDE, Fedora GNOME on 188, and Fedora KDE on 172. So Cachy lost to Fedora in both cases, and both got annihilated by GNOME. I find that, like, how is the desktop environment doing that? Especially because I installed the same, a desktop environment along the same OS. Like, I didn't have to reinstall the game. So it's the exact same settings, exact same launch options. I literally just log out, log into KDE, and I get a huge performance hit. Not sure why, but this is another point for me for GNOME. I'm like, okay, well, let me try some other games. I don't have them all documented here, but Shadow of the Tomb Raider was another one where GNOME was getting 190 FPS and KDE got 180 flat, and then CachyOS got like 177. So it was another thing of GNOME annihilating everything on Fedora KDE beating Cachy, and then Cachy losing on KDE to Fedora KDE. So I'm like, why am I getting worse gaming performance? I've only tested 2 games. And in NBA. Same scenario in NBA. So I'm like, why are we losing from CachyOS to Fedora? Which I just did the RPM fusion and all that type of stuff. So I'm just talking here a little bit about my experience, and we're talking some commands that we're using and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it seemed like the out-of-the-box performance on Fedora and specifically GNOME was better. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm on CachyOS for the bleeding edge updates to get the most gaming performance when that time comes, even though I'm just playing old school RuneScape mainly. And I'm getting clobbered by Fedora on GNOME. So what I'm doing now is I backed up my Unity project and I started editing on Unity in Fedora GNOME instead of KDE Plasma. So if I actually go to, let me shortcut to my actual project here, and let me show you something that's also a problem with, I think this is just KDE in general. This isn't a CachyOS thing, and this is the main reason I left Windows, and we're gonna see that here. And I guess I can show it in real time. I'm doing one take on this video. And I'm also coughing in it, so I'm not actually editing this. I'm just gonna throw it out there as spitballing for people that like listening to Linux autobiographies. So I'm just booting into Unity into my actual game here, and what we're gonna see is this is one of the maps that we're working on, or kind of finished up actually. So the UI is tiny, and the only way to fix this is to set your scaling on your desktop to a massive, like 300% or whatever, and then this becomes normal-ish, and everything else is gigantic. So it's just very tiny. So I've just compromised, and I'll show you why. So the font's really small. I just have to literally go close to my screen to see all the values of, don't want to make any edits, of all of the things I've been editing. I have to just really get close to the monitor just to see it. And here's the main reason why I ditched Windows. So if I go here, I don't know what build this is of my game. I'm just going to tank that. So if I go File and I go Build Profiles, if anyone's familiar with developing in Unity, you build out your game. You can build it out for Linux. You can build it out for Mac, whatever it may be. So here, the font is tiny. It's tiny for me. It's tiny for you guys watching the video. And what I'm going to do is just select a Windows build because I just launched through Steam with force compatibility on Proton and using my game-performance command. I'm going to hit Build. And watch this. This is really cool. So I'm going to build out to my Steam testing folder. I'm going to hit Save. And my game is going to build, which puts it into a playable and transferable game that I can zip up and send to people, and I can launch as an exe, right? So while I'm talking, look at this. It's freaking done. My game is here ready to play from Unity. And what I do for multiplayer testing is I do 1v1 against myself. So I'll launch my game in Steam, and then I'll launch my game in Unity, and then I can 1v1 myself and be like, oh, when I killed him and picked up the weapon, I actually have a different weapon in my hands than what he was using. Okay, that's a problem. Let me go back into Unity, make a few edits, and go back to build and build out another build and test that and run the same scenario. Okay, it worked this time, but the skin is incorrect that I picked up off the gun there. So let me go back in, we'll make a few tweaks, get some help from AI, whatever it may be, build it out again, and do the same test. Okay, now I just ran 3 tests in a multiplayer 1v1 scenario in this short amount of time. So what I switched to this in the first place is because on Windows, when I clicked build, it was actually a 14-minute adventure to build out that game file. So if I go here and build, again, that one was at like 20, maybe 20 seconds or so, compared to 14 minutes. So that was the main reason why I cut over, and I thought maybe that was a configuration issue on the Windows side. But I guess turns out that's maybe, I don't know if Linux just handles this differently, but it just saved so much time that even with the nice like ChatGPT app that Windows had at the time that Linux didn't, which Linux has now and I'm going to be utilizing, it was just such a time killer that I couldn't justify staying on Windows for developing a game. So all in all, I found out that this was a KDE issue, and when I launched Unity on Fedora and GNOME, the scaling was perfect. Everything looks the right size, everything is good, just no problem. Same fast build speed, like 20 seconds compared to Windows 14 minutes. So there was, for a game developer, I feel like there was just no reason to stay on Windows, and that's kind of, a big reason for why I left that in the first place. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm just going to be kind of just backing up my stuff to my home server, and we're going to be wiping CachyOS, which is a little scary because I've had it for probably close to a year. And we're going to be I'm going to keep my Fedora GNOME partition with my Windows, and I might get flack for this, but I'm going to install Ubuntu on the other SSD, and I've read the flack about it. I know they're a massive corporation. Some people say corporate slop. Some people say, whatever else. From my experience, I've used Linux Mint, Fedora, Cachy, and I've tinkered with other ones just in VMs and whatnot. But the reason I'm kind of going Ubuntu is as a game developer now and long-term stability, I want that type of backing. So Fedora, that's why I went to Fedora in the first place. It's the bigger, I guess if you want to call it franchise, bigger team behind it, doing the updates and polishes and stuff like that. Everything is just worked on Fedora. I go into the software manager, I got the ChatGPT that literally just failed me here. All the updates so far, perfect. Everything's been perfect. I haven't had one hiccup at all yet. So that's been pretty motivating. I feel like GNOME and Fedora is going to be, especially because of the gaming performance, which I can't really account for. Fedora and GNOME is probably going to be my main distro, but I'm a type of guy that wants to do the research myself. So even everyone's like, snaps suck, flat packs all the way, whatever for Linux. I'm still going to try Ubuntu. Other people say, it's not a big deal. You're on modern hardware. You're not even going to notice the difference between snaps and flat packs or whatever. So I'm going to run the same gaming performance tests that I was doing on Fedora GNOME, seeing where the numbers stack up. And since I also game on the side, and if they both develop the same, both use Unity the same, which is officially supported through Ubuntu, I think, or like it says that that's a distro that, Unity supports or whatever is compatible with. I'm going to just benchmark a few games on Ubuntu and benchmark a few games again on Fedora and GNOME, open my Shattersite project and start game developing on both and see just kind of how things go from there. I like the idea of a bit of a bigger company backing the distro. I know people can say corporate slop because Ubuntu, they're saying like is the Windows of Linux and all this and that. But at the end of the day, I want that kind of stability and to experiment as well. So like Linux Mint, I'm running as my backend servers basically right now because that's pretty rock solid, minimalistic approach. And then on my main performance builds where I want maybe faster updates or something like that, I'm probably going to be sticking with Fedora. Or I guess, stability in long-term Ubuntu. So maybe I'll make another video with those benchmarks with Ubuntu versus Fedora because I'm quite interested in that because of all the backlash Ubuntu's had in the past. Just the ISO itself is like 6 gigabytes, which is pretty beefy compared to Fedora here, which was like 3 gig or like half the size for the ISO. But yeah, I'm going to be wiping this and then we'll do the benchmarks and we'll go from there. Windows, again, even though, oh yeah, did I post the benchmarks there? So what I was saying here, 168, 188, 172, same scenario on Windows. I was at 264 FPS. So there's still a fat difference there, which is very hard to ignore. But when I'm developing, I can't wait 13 minutes for a build of my game to get out when I know Linux can do it in 20 seconds and I can multiplayer test. So I really didn't have time to make a shorter video. Spitballing and throwing it out there is all I have time for right now, which winds up being longer. So I guess hope you guys follow this. Maybe share some of your Linux stories and journeys below. I'm always open to kind of testing more distros on this particular OS. I only had Fedora KDE and Fedora GNOME separated, and I have a Windows XP build for old school games, which is kind of cool. And in my other OS, I have Ubuntu as well, so and just an Oracle box and whatnot. So, yeah, gonna be wiping Cachy, which is pretty crazy. It got outclassed by Fedora and GNOME in every category I've thrown at it, and Unity looks proper. So, yeah, I don't know other distros if they're gonna be worth it over Fedora and Ubuntu, but yeah, time to do some more testing and catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.